Hello everyone, welcome to the GrowCast show. My name is Yu Hong and I'll be your host for today. And today in our studio we have Daniel, founder of Kiong Collective. Let's get to our questions. So Daniel, what is your number one advice for someone who is just starting their investment property journey?
To be honest, right, actually there's no number one or number two advice for property investment journey. It's because it really depends on what the client want. Like for yourself, like what do you want? Like for example, do you want capital growth or do you want income rental? Yeah, so these two are two different runway. Okay, like for example, if you would prefer capital gain, okay, so you really have to understand what is your objective of holding that particular investment property. What is your objective? First, you have to ask yourself that. Okay. Second would be your cash flow. Okay. What is your budget? And after calculating all these progressive payment, do you still have enough fund for your own usage per se? If you are looking in the rental part, right, you really need to understand about the surrounding area. What is the supply and demand like? Like for example, what is the job opportunity over there in that location? Yeah, so that you can attract the particular group of tenants for your property. So I feel like there's really no hard and fast rule. Okay, it's more depend on what you want, what you really want, what is your current stage of life. Yeah, like for example, right now you are married, okay, with a kid. Okay, so it really depends on the long-term planning. Like for example, the school. So I feel that there is really no number one advice. Yeah, if let's say you are at the dilemma of at the midst of, I shouldn't say in the midst. If let's say you do have the intention to start investing in property, maybe you can look for me, we can have a chat, to explore more.
Which residential areas in Singapore should property investors pay attention to next?
Okay, to be frank, right, there's no number one location on where you should invest on. Because for me, it really depends on the client's needs and want. Okay, like for example, if let's say this particular location is already quite matured, the infrastructure are there, and of course usually this kind of places, it has a premium price on it. We should look into something that is still developing. Like for example, the infrastructure are still not ready in that particular location. Government-led investment. Okay, so this is where the government putting a lot of money into that location. Yeah, so I think this is something that we should consider for.
EC versus private condo. Should a young couple choose?
Okay, again, it really depends on their stage of life, okay, their lifestyle. Like for example, if let's say right now they are currently planning to start their family, okay, family of 3, family of 4, they do require a bigger space, okay. EC usually come in subsidized, okay, but of course the negative side would be it has a lot of stringent restriction, like for example MOP, okay, as well as we are using MSR, okay, it will largely affect the loan amount compared to a private condo. If let's say budget is not an issue, okay, cash flow is not an issue, and you are able to wait for 3-4 years, I think private condo is also something that you can consider on, okay, because I feel that in private condo itself, you do not have to wait for that long because for private condo itself, you do not have to wait for that long period of time for you to be eligible to sell. Okay, so that your runway is much shorter and your runway is much shorter. So I feel that both of it is something that you can consider as well.
So is buying a private property near a prestigious school always a good choice?
I would say 50-50, okay, because it largely depends on the population of Singapore, okay, because for Singapore, right, we are in the aging population, okay, and of course school are merging because of our newborn is not steadily coming in, okay, that's why school are merging, okay. So if let's say school are merging, so what does it mean? Low birth rate, okay, meaning to say that right now if you are entering a area that has a good school in it, it might not work in the future furthermore, because in Singapore population, right, they are aging. I would say that buying something near a transport node is much more better in today's market. Like what I mentioned earlier, low birth rate, school are merging. So the school effect might not be there in times to come. That's how I feel.
Why are so many young adults choosing new condos as their first home?
Okay, because I feel that as young adults are progressing in their career, okay, they do get their promotions. Yeah, so I feel that their cash flow in buying a new launch is very, very significant to play a part. Okay, because I feel that in new launch itself, we are using this progressive payment. The cash flow for this young couple are more manageable, to be honest. Yeah, because progressive payments meaning that you will only need to pay as they build. Yeah, so it will be more manageable for them in terms of their cash flow. Secondly, I feel that for new launch, right, it has a better layout, okay, modern facility, modern amenities. Yeah, so I think it can attract these young crowds. And thirdly, right, the new launch will be significantly younger than the surrounding resale. Yeah, so should they decide to sell and their units are still competitive? That's how I feel.
Who is a new launch condo not suitable for?
If let's say a family of three, right now they are urgently in needs of that unit itself. Yeah, so this is a clear-cut answer. It's not suitable for them because of the timeline. Okay, for new launch condo, right, it usually requires 3 to 3.5 years to build. Yeah, so first the timeline is not matching already. Secondly, I feel that it will be the cash flow problem. Okay, if let's say, for example, if let's say your cash flow is tight, okay, and after paying the down payment, do you still have enough to survive for the upcoming months or even years? Thirdly, I feel that if let's say these particular clients who would only want short-term profit, then this might not be something that you should look into, because buying a new launch, right, you need times to cook. Okay, yeah, you need transaction to move. Curve will roll, transaction will go up. Yeah, so this is how I feel that these are the three, major factor that is not suitable.
Why should I pay a premium for a new launch condo when the surrounding areas resale condos are priced significantly lower?
Okay, so first of all, you have to determine what is premium and why should you be paying this, and of course whether the premium is justifiable or not. Okay, on why, right? Okay, because first of all, the lease will be longer. Okay, because it's brand new compared to a nearby resale condo which is already 5 to 7 years old already. Yeah, so you are actually enter a brand new lease. Second of all, it will be a newer design, better layout, and even more better amenities. For third point, right, it will be the progressive payment. New launch and resale both are with different payment structure. Okay, so for new launch, it will be progressive payment. For resale condo, you will have to pay upfront already. Yeah, so I feel that this is a difference on why you should pay that premium. But first of all, you really have to determine whether this is justifiable or not.
What does the URA master plan say about the empty plots of land surrounding a development, and how does it affect your view and evaluation of that place?
Okay, so when buying a property, right, you really have to study well the surrounding. Okay, of course, check with the URA master plan. What is the surrounding going to do? Okay, like for example, this particular empty plot of land is zoned under residential, school, natural park. All this would directly affect your valuation in the future. Like for example, right now you are staying a high floor, okay, unblocked view. Okay, if let's say right in front of you there's a plot ratio, residential area plot ratio with 3.6, then your view might not stay forever, you see. Okay, this might, potentially devalue your property. It will be an educational hub. So you might need to take into consideration about the noise level. So this is how I feel that it might potentially devalue your property.
How do we evaluate the developer's land acquisition cost or break-even price to ensure that we are buying at a fair margin?
So a developer acquisition price is the price that developer buys the land. Yeah. Then after that, break-even cost, you will need to add up the material cost, labor cost, financing cost, as well as some of the taxes, here and there. When developer charges sky-high prices, right, we must really sit down to think about, whether is it because of height or is it because of the uniqueness of that particular development or rather location. Yeah, so I feel that is something we can really sit down to dive into.
So how is the 15-month cooling measure for private property sellers going to affect the property market?
First of all, we really have to understand why the government is doing this. Who is the target audience? Okay, the government is doing this is because we know that recent year, HDB prices shoot up quite a bit. quite a fair bit. Usually, who is the target audience who drive out the prices? It will be from the private property owner. Yeah, because after they have profited from their condo development, okay, they do have quite a fair bit of cash, so that they are willing to buy a premium for a bigger space, bigger location. Yeah. So with this 15 months measure, right, it will, slow them down. Yeah. So that it can, stabilize the HDB market. So we really have to know who is the buyer buying those $1 million properties. Of course, the first thing that come to my mind is the private property segment. So private property segment, once they sold their flats, once they sold their condo, okay, they do have quite a fair bit of profit margin. This do allow them to buy in a bigger space, better location. Yeah, so they do not mind paying a premium to the HDB itself. Of course, this particular policy are short terms. Yeah, the long-term goal are still depending on the price, okay, the demand, the location, and your long-term goal.